My brother sold my home while I was away, without even asking me. He thought he was clever, pocketing the money and bragging to the family. But what he didn't know was that my house wasn't just any property. It was protected by federal law. One wrong move from him, and he wasn't just stealing from me. He was walking straight into a trap that could destroy his life forever. Before I continue, make sure you hit subscribe, share this with someone who loves shocking revenge stories, and stay tuned till the end, because this twist will leave you speechless. When I got back from my work trip, my neighbor was the first to whisper the news. "Brianna, there were movers here. Your brother handled everything." At first, I thought it was a joke, but when I reached the gate, I found strangers unpacking furniture inside my living room. The house I bought with every ounce of my savings, the place I called my safe space, was no longer mine. I stormed into the house, demanding answers, but the new owner shoved paperwork in my face. "We bought it fair and square from your brother, paid in full." My hands trembled as I flipped through the documents, his signature forged on my behalf, the entire deal done behind my back. I rushed to confront my brother. He smirked, leaning back in his chair like it was all a game. "Relax, Brianna. You were never going to make real money with that house anyway. I just did what you couldn't, turned it into cash. And now, I'm the hero who saved the family." But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this house wasn't just my home. It was tied to something much bigger, something that would turn his little deal into the biggest mistake of his life. And once the truth came out, it wouldn't just be about money anymore. It would be about survival. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car outside the house, staring at the windows that once glowed with my lights, now filled with strangers. My brother had crossed a line, but he had no idea what kind of fire he was playing with. The house wasn't just sentimental. It was listed under federal protection due to its history. Years ago, I discovered it was built on land tied to a historic site, and after months of paperwork, it was registered under the Department of Interior. That meant any sale without approval wasn't just illegal, it was a federal crime. The next morning, I marched into the county office, demanding access to the property files. The clerk's eyes widened when she saw the fake signatures. "This isn't valid. Whoever filed this committed fraud. And if the federal registry finds out..." She didn't finish her sentence, but I knew what it meant. My brother hadn't just stolen from me, he had walked straight into a federal trap. I drove straight to my parents' house where he was celebrating his so-called victory. The dining room was full, uncles, cousins, even neighbors, everyone clapping him on the back like he was some genius businessman. My mom even said, "Finally, someone in this family did something smart. Brianna should learn from you." The room filled with laughter, and all eyes turned to me when I walked in. My brother smirked. "Oh, look, here she is, the girl who never had a plan. Don't worry, sis. I already saved you the trouble. You're welcome." His words stung, but I didn't flinch. I let them laugh. Because the deeper they mocked me, the sweeter the silence would be when the truth ripped through this room. I leaned closer across the table. "You think you've won, don't you?" I said softly. He chuckled, sipping his drink. "I didn't just win, Brianna. I sold that worthless house and made us all look good. You should thank me. That's when I dropped my first bombshell. You didn't sell a house. You committed federal fraud. That property is government protected. Every signature you forged, every dollar you touched, it's all a crime punishable by prison." The room froze. My aunt gasped. My cousin choked on his food. And my brother's smirk finally cracked, though he tried to cover it with a laugh. "You're bluffing," but I wasn't bluffing. I pulled out the certified registry papers from my bag and tossed them on the table. The official seal glared back at him like a loaded weapon. My father's face went pale. My mom's proud smile disappeared. Suddenly, my brother's victory looked more like a death sentence, and that was only the beginning because I hadn't even told them what happens when the government itself finds out their golden boy just sold protected property. The storm came, faster than even I expected. Within 48 hours, the buyers of my house showed up at my work, frantic. "We need answers. The government just froze the deed. They're saying we bought federal property. What the hell did you sell us? Their voices were sharp, panicked, and for the first time I realized my brother's little scheme was unraveling on its own. I didn't say much, just told them to contact the one who sold it. By evening, my brother was blowing up my phone. His voice cracked with fear. Brianna, they're threatening to sue me. They said they'll press charges if I don't give back the money. You have to help me fix this. But I wasn't about to save him. Not after he paraded me as a failure in front of everyone. Not after he ripped my home from under me like it was nothing. I told him flatly, this isn't my mess. You wanted to be the hero? Now face the fire. And I hung up. The real blow landed a few days later. My family called a meeting at my parents' house. When I arrived, the living room was tense, filled with the same relatives who had laughed at me earlier. Only this time, no one was laughing. My brother sat slouched in the corner, his hands buried in his hair. My dad spoke first. Brianna, you have to do something. Your brother is in deep trouble. The government is investigating. If this goes public, our whole family name will be ruined. I almost laughed at the hypocrisy. The same man who called me useless now begging for my help. My brother finally looked up, his eyes red. I didn't know, Brianna, I swear. I thought it was just a house. I thought I was helping, please. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding. They'll listen to you. For a moment, I let the silence stretch. I wanted every one of them to feel the weight of their arrogance, their mockery, their betrayal. Then I leaned forward. Why should I save you? When I needed support, you sold my home and humiliated me. Now you want me to rescue you? He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. You didn't just mess with me. You messed with the federal government. And trust me, they don't forgive mistakes. That's when my phone buzzed with a notification from a local news station. Headline: Man accused of selling protected property under investigation. My brother's name was right there, bold and undeniable. Gasps filled the room as everyone read it. And in that moment, I realized the humiliation I had endured was nothing compared to what was coming for him. The news spread like wildfire. By the next morning, my brother's face was plastered across every local channel, his name tied to words like fraud, forgery, and federal charges. Reporters camped outside my parents' driveway. Neighbors whispered every time they saw us. And for once, the shame wasn't mine. It was his. At work, my coworkers came rushing up to me with wide eyes. Brianna, isn't this about your house? Your brother sold it illegally? Is it true? I just smiled faintly and said, it's true. But trust me, this is only the beginning. That single line was enough to light their curiosity on fire, and soon everyone was following the story like it was a live drama. Meanwhile, my brother's life was collapsing. The buyers sued him for damages, the government pressed charges, and the bank froze his accounts because the money he received was considered fraudulent income. He went from bragging about being the family hero to begging lawyers to save him from prison. The same relatives who once praised him now avoided his calls, terrified of being associated with his scandal. One evening, my parents summoned me again. This time, their tone completely different. No arrogance, no superiority, just desperation. My father sighed heavily. Brianna, you're the only one who can speak on his behalf. You have proof you registered the house. If you soften your side, maybe the government will back off. I let their words sink in. My mother's eyes watered as she whispered, Please, Brianna. If this goes on, he could go to prison. I looked around that room, remembering every insult, every laugh, every time they called me a failure. And now here they were, begging the same daughter they had dismissed. I stood tall, letting the silence weigh heavy before I spoke. You all mocked me for years. You said I was wasting my time, that I'd never achieve anything. Yet the very thing you mocked me for, the house I protected, is the same thing saving me today. And destroying him. My brother broke down, tears running down his face. I was jealous, Brianna. You did what none of us could. You built something real. I wanted to take it from you so I could finally be respected. I never thought it would come to this. Please. Just fix it. Please. His words cut deep, but they didn't soften me. Because behind every tear, I still saw the smirk he wore when he sold my home like it was worthless. I leaned closer and whispered so only he could hear, "You didn't just sell my house. You sold your soul for a moment of glory, and now the whole world knows what you really are." The next day, I walked into the federal office for the hearing. Reporters swarmed me, asking if I was there to defend my brother. I looked right into the cameras and said clearly, "No, I'm here to defend what's mine." The flash of cameras, the silence that followed, it was the most powerful moment of my life. And just when my brother thought things couldn't get worse, the federal attorney announced something that made the entire courtroom gasp. The courtroom was silent as the federal attorney rose, his voice sharp and deliberate. After reviewing the documents and the fraudulent sale, this court rules that the transaction is void. The property is returned to its rightful owner, Brianna. Furthermore, the defendant, her brother, faces charges of forgery, wire fraud, and the illegal sale of federally protected property. Gasps echoed across the room. My brother's knees buckled, and he nearly collapsed into his chair. The buyers glared at him like predators ready to pounce, already whispering about their lawsuit. My parents sat pale and trembling, unable to look me in the eye. The judge continued, "Due to the severity of the offense, the court will move forward with prosecution. Maximum sentencing applies." My brother's lawyer whispered frantically, but it was useless. The law was clear, and the trap had snapped shut. For the first time, I stood tall, not the overlooked daughter, not the mocked sister, but the one holding all the power. Reporters swarmed me outside, shoving microphones in my face. "Brianna, what will you do now that justice is in your favor?" I smiled, my voice calm but strong. "For years, my family underestimated me. They laughed at my choices, mocked my sacrifices. But today proves something simple. Never mistake silence for weakness. Sometimes the quiet ones are the ones holding the keys to everything." The headline that evening was everywhere. "Woman wins back protected property. Brother faces federal prison." My inbox flooded with messages from strangers, people calling me an inspiration, thanking me for standing tall against betrayal. As for my brother, he was led away in handcuffs, his once proud smirk erased forever. My parents didn't speak a word as I walked past them. And honestly, I didn't need them to, because in that moment, I had everything I needed. My home restored, my dignity reclaimed, and the sweet satisfaction of watching the very people who mocked me beg for my forgiveness. And as I stood at my front door that night, unlocking the house he tried to steal, I whispered to myself, this was never just a home. It was proof that I was stronger than all of them. The story ended there for them, but for me, it was only the beginning of something bigger.